Well, I didn't think they'd be doing this. Let's begin. The article says that Asda shoppers have been warned to compare the prices of items on labels and at the tills. Shoppers who use the scan and go service at the budget supermarket have noticed that they are being charged more than advertised. With Scan As You Go, you use a little app on your smartphone or a handset provided at the store to scan the barcode of each item as you shop. However, customers have realised that many items have been marked up when using the system. Taken to Facebook's Extreme Couponing and Bargains page, one Asda shopper said, "A word of caution when shopping at the Asdas," or Asda as it's otherwise known as. "I always check everything I scan rather than just chucking it in the trolley or basket, and I've stumbled across some blatant skullduggery by the big A's. They discovered that the price on the shelf is different to what was paid for some items. For example, a packet of Whiskas cat food was marked up at £5 on the shelf, but in the Scan and Go app it came up at £5.69p, while a jar of Hartley's jam was marked up as costing from £1.20, but on the scanner it was £1.40. And it could mean that shoppers using the Scan As You Go could be paying a few bob more each time they shop. And as the spokesperson though said, the process of price changes mean that shelf edge labels should be changed at the same time as they are updated on the Scan As You Go. If an item scans at a different price as to that shown on the shelf label, the customer should alert a colleague who will then confirm the correct price to be paid. And of course, it's always worth checking the prices of items from store to store and online, as they can sometimes vary. If the prices from store to store can sometimes vary, as the article says, and to be honest, I think that they should only update the prices once the labels have been changed on the actual shelves themselves, because otherwise it doesn't exactly look too great for Asda, does it? Especially if they're putting something up by 69p, because while in itself 69p might not sound too much, it can all add up, can't it? And actually thinking about it just goes to show how much profit Asda is making, doesn't it? If they were selling it at £5 beforehand. What also is quite worrying is this is more than likely going to happen at the tills as well. No doubt, of course, because the only difference is that you've got a person physically scanning the items for you. So whilst with Scan As You Go or the Scan app, you'll know exactly how much it is the second you scan it. With a person at the tills, you'll only probably realise when you get your receipt after you've paid for the items, or worse, when you've actually got home. In which case, it does make me wonder if it will be harder to go back to the store and say, "These items have been mispriced, can you sort it out for me please?" In that case, I'm guessing 9 out of 10 people probably say, "Oh, I sold this at only 69p. And if supermarkets keep chopping and changing their prices quite often, it does make me wonder how long it will be before each item will have a digital display under it which will update like what fuel prices do. Which, to be honest, is certainly something I wouldn't want. But of course, at the end of the day, bang, that's Asda price. You don't actually see that advert on TV anymore, do you? Maybe it upsets too much woke people nowadays. You can just imagine it, can't you? "Oh, she slapped her own bottom. We can't possibly have that thing on TV nowadays, can we? I'm complaining to Ofcom." It's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? To just stop all yobs who caused chaos by scaling the Dartford crossing tried to pretend that they're not bothered at all about being sent to jail yesterday. Well, maybe they're not. Selfish Morgan Trowland, who is 40, and Marcus Decker, who's 34, used ropes to scale 200 feet up the Queen Elizabeth II bridge between Kent and Essex last October before unfurling a banner. The eco-extremists then camped in hammocks on the M25 crossing, which meant the bridge had to be closed for 40 hours, with some locals missing funerals, businesses losing a small fortune, and other things like that. Both were convicted of causing a public nuisance. Trowland of Islington, North London, and Decker of strangely no fixed address caused one person to miss the funeral of his best friend of 35 years, while the business lost out on earnings of £160,000. Another victim included a heavily pregnant woman in need of urgent medical attention. Decker gave the thumbs up as he was taken away after being sentenced to 2 years, 7 months in prison, and Trowland got 3 years. It is thought, though, to be the harshest sentencing of any activist from such groups as Just Stop Oil, Extinction Rebellion, and of course, Insulate Britain. Judge Shane Corley, hope I pronounced that right, told them at Southend Crown Court, "You have been punished for the chaos you have caused to deter others from copying you." Well, it's about time, isn't it? Because for far too long now, we're seeing cases of people vandalising things, or trying to cause vandalism in museums, holding up traffic on the road while getting made cups of tea, it seems, by police officers who just seem really happy to watch them rather than actually do their job and move them on, in my opinion, and just being a general nuisance to people's lives. So I'm glad they were sentenced, but to be honest, I don't think it's for nearly long enough, because if he's sentenced for 2 years, then he's going to be out in about a year's time, isn't he, on parole or something like that. So what sort of deterrent is that? I personally would have gone for about 5 years if I had the option, and hopefully that would have stopped all this eco-protest and crap overnight. If people think they're actually going to get some serious jail time, and obviously whilst 2.5 years isn't what some would deem serious for blocking traffic, it is still a year and a half longer than what they would have got otherwise. And I don't know about you, but I think at the end of the day, these sort of people are just sort of hypocrites, aren't they? I mean, not too long ago we saw, was it the founder or the partner or whoever she was, who set up one of these eco groups, shopping at a supermarket, buying items from overseas, which are using all sorts of carbon air miles to get over here or whatever. Not only that, but apparently she also drives a diesel Range Rover or Land Rover or whatever it was, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't actually think qualifies as eco-friendly. So if they're not doing it for environmental reasons, why could they possibly be doing it? I know, money! I'm guessing that probably had something to do with it, by people or groups continuing their cause by just funds me or whatever. Maybe some actually see it as their job, because let's face it, if they're sitting on the M25 or wherever, and I don't think they've really got a day job to go to, have they? And what these idiots still haven't figured out is if they're staying there in the middle of the road and therefore stopping cars from going anywhere, then cars are using more petrol or diesel by waiting, aren't they? And therefore surely using more oil. It's just absolutely mental, isn't it? And it kind of goes against, presumably, what they stand for. So they're being a hindrance to the cause that they're trying to campaign for. It's just mental, isn't it? Of course, no doubt they get the police to make them a lovely cup of tea while they have their picnic on the M25. A woman was shocked when bailiffs arrived on her doorstep demanding she pays fines for driving offences she hadn't committed. Fran Abrahams, hope I pronounced that right, who lives in rural Suffolk, was in the process of appealing 3 fines issued by Transport for London, the TfL, claiming her number plates had been cloned. 2 of the fines were on red route parking violations in Mance Road, Hackney, East London, and the other was failing to pay the daily £12.50 ultra-low emission zone Ulez charge. Fran told the Daily Mail, "At first I thought it was the police. He was wearing a black uniform and he said he was filming on his body cam. It all felt quite intimidating. I told the bailiff that I wasn't going to let him take my property. I'd already told his firm, Marsden Recovery, that this has nothing to do with me and had been advised not to let any enforcement officers enter my house. So told him he couldn't come in. But of course he said he didn't need to because he was authorised to take my car, which was worth around £7,500. He'd already blocked the driveway with his van, so I couldn't drive it out. At this point, of course, I gave in and he said I'd have to pay him £559, so I handed over my credit card." Fran said the offences were committed some 100 miles away from where she lives and claimed she had done everything in her power to prove her innocence to TfL. Fran alleged Suffolk's police even told her this happens so often, they've stopped recording the offences as crimes. Can you believe that? The Daily Mail said it contacted TfL with a dossier of evidence, which resulted in a swift apology from the transport body. Any outstanding fines were cancelled and TfL said it would refund the £559 and also provide her with compensation and carry out a full review. A TfL spokesperson described Fran's case as extreme, but said it was speculation to suggest the incident was in relation to an extension of the Ulez. "Oh really? Well, if it was cancelled, why are you making this video? Oh, I hate the Smug one!" Well, just in case a similar thing happens to you, of course. Anyway, it is strange, isn't it, how suddenly, after presumably not allowing her evidence to overturn their decision, yet at the same time when a national newspaper such as the Daily Mail, I'm guessing, gives them the same evidence, they have a sudden change of heart. Maybe, who knows, they probably think they've got enough bad press as it is, and I just hoping that it doesn't get out there. Oh, what a shame. I am glad, of course, that it did get resolved in the lady's favour. However, it is a pity that she had to go through the whole thing in the first place, isn't it? When it wasn't her fault at all. And just goes to show how worrying it is that as her number plate was cloned, it could actually presumably happen to other people, especially the more this Ulez zone gets expanded, I'm guessing. Because let's face it, people don't want to pay the £12.50 daily charge to use their vehicles, do they? And all this crap about it being for environmental reasons is just absolutely rubbish in my opinion, because if it was, then they would ban the cars completely, wouldn't they? Not make people pay some money to drive them through the city. So if anything, I'm guessing it is probably more to do with help funding the TfL or maybe Sadiq Khan's council in general. But then again, of course, I could be wrong. And of course, I know recently he's been talking about a pay-as-you-drive system, which presumably would replace Ulez and the congestion charge and probably any other fee that you can think up. But the worrying thing is, if his pay-as-you-drive idea actually gets the go-ahead, which to be honest I hope it doesn't, because it's bound to spread across the whole of the country, isn't it? Can you imagine how hard it would be to prove, if your number plate did get cloned in this case, how hard it would be to prove that you were the one who was not driving? Especially as I'm guessing it'd probably get lost in the list of driving charges or journey charges whenever you get into your car. So to actually find it in general might actually be a challenge to begin with. And also, how often would people check these journeys? It is a bit strange though that, as he's thought that this would be such a good idea, we haven't heard how much pence per mile or whatever the charge is going to be for this pay-as-you-drive system, which is actually quite worrying because I'm guessing it's not good news. And no doubt, of course, if he has thought up the idea, then it's probably only going to be beneficial to one sort of type of person or company, such as the TfL maybe. But then again, of course, I could be wrong. In general, I'm sure there's better ways of avoiding fines, just like in this video, with the loophole that someone has discovered, which will hopefully save people a lot of money. Anyway, subscribe for more and I'll see you in the next one.